Good evening, my friends. My name is Lama Jigme Gyatso. I'm the non-sectarian monk, yogi, healer, and teacher. I'm the guy who's not fundamentalist, but instead is liberal. The guy who blends the teachings of Lao Tzu and Gautama the Buddha. The guy who teaches the blending of Sutra and Tantra, as well as the blending of Mahayana and Theravada. That's right, folks. One-stop shopping. I live here in Los Angeles County. Last night, I went to a wonderful vegan friendship mixer. Well, a bunch of vegans got together and just got to know each other. It was quite lovely. Had the very good fortune of meeting several vegans who were also sci-fi geeks, which I love. Love science fiction. And if you've been to my website and you looked under my bio, you saw a fun little blurb about my homage to both Star Wars and Star Trek. Trek. So I was speaking with a lovely sci-fi vegan. Now, I do wish to respect her privacy, so I'll just refer to her as Miss J. And Miss J had a wonderful question. She asked me, how can one cultivate non-corporeal spiritual guides? And so I will do my best to answer that question right now. The Tibetan Tantra was not devised in Tibet. It migrated to Tibet from North India. In India, many Buddhist practitioners developed the ability to ask questions directly to various Buddhas and learn how to receive answers back. We see that happening with the ordained Bodhisattva Chandrakirti, as well as the householder Chandra Mumi. We see that happening in Tibet. We see the Atisha, the Bengali prince who became a monk and eventually traveled to Tibet to bring the teachings there. We see that Atisha was able to dialogue directly with a female Buddha known as Matare or Green Tara. We see that the founder of the Gelag sect, Tsongkhapa, was able to dialogue directly with the wisdom Buddha Manjushri. We see that the great saint Kanma Jigme, who was not sectarian, who studied both Kagyu as well as Nyingma, was able to speak dialogue directly with Avalokiteshvara, also known as Chenrezig, the Buddha of compassion. We see that the great Nyingma saints, Jigme Lingpa, was able to communicate directly with the dead Buddhist saint Longchen Rabjampa. And so that's just a brief cavalcade of Buddhists who are able to dialogue with various saints, departed saints, as well as Buddhas, both male Buddhas and female Buddhas, both ordained and laity, both Indians and Tibetans, of various sects. And so we see that this It's happened many, many times before. I'm not a linguist. I'm not going to pretend I am. But in Tibet, one who is able to do this is called a terton, and the messages they receive are called termas. The fundamentalists in Tibet will say this is only for special people, but I'm not a fundamentalist, I'm a liberal, and as such, I teach all my students how to do this. And they have to actually be real students. A real student comes to class every week, does their homework twice daily. That's a real student. So what I typically do is I offer weekly meditation classes. Some people come in person, some people attend over Skype. Typically, a meditation class consists of 4 quarters over the span of 12 months. Typically, by the end, so at the beginning of the first quarter, I'm teaching students many, many things. One of the things is how to develop a strong karmic connection, a strong rapport, if you will, with the Buddha of infinite light. Typically, by the end of the first quarter, or the beginning of the second quarter, I'm able to teach students how to ask yes or no questions to the Buddha of infinite light and actually get yes or no answers back. It's very binary. So the first method I teach is it's easy to learn, but not very subtle. It's kind of clunky or ungainly, but it's easy to learn. Typically by the end of the second quarter, I teach them a more subtle method. And so it's a little more difficult to learn, but it's easier to use. That's the irony. There's an indirect ratio between ease of learning and ease of use, or convenience of use. By the end of the third quarter, I teach them my favorite dialoguing technique, which is the most challenging to learn, but the most convenient to use once you have it down pat. And also, here's what's neat. In the beginning, when people are learning how to dialogue, they kind of feel like this might be bullshit. They might be basically telling themselves what they want to hear. And so in addition to learning the actual physical technique, they're learning the art of how to phrase a question, strategies to outsmart ourselves. And what will happen is, if they do this enthusiastically, in a week or 2, they have something happen where they get an answer they don't want, an answer they don't expect, and then it hits them. They're not just talking to themselves, but they've made a connection to another entity. Now, in this discussion, I'm not going to go into great detail about the trap of certitude or belief. But I will say this. What happens is they begin asking questions about innocuous things, unimportant things. And over time, people who do this enthusiastically, over time, consistently, over time, they grow more and more comfortable asking questions with bigger and bigger stakes. And you don't start off with big stakes questions. Start off with innocuous things like, should I have a snack? For the snack, should I have chocolate or should I have fruit? Should I have an apple? Should I have an orange? Should I have a banana? Should I have a carrot? You know, things that are not going to disrupt your life horribly. Very easy, mundane things. But after a while, we can ask bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger questions. We continually learn how to phrase our questions and And we learn the strategies of asking questions so we can avoid the pitfall of the limitations of preconceptions. Eventually, by the end of the fourth quarter, we're able to receive spontaneous psychic downloads. Typically, they start off very, very concise. Sometimes it's a one-liner, sometimes it's a couplet, sometimes it's a quatrain. After a while, with a consistent practice, we can download entire books or discourses. Personally, I teach by channeling. That's my way of teaching. It's my way of doing public speaking. There is a wonderful movie. As a sci-fi geek, I dearly love it. It's called The Matrix. When I think of The Matrix, I think about the first Matrix movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's probably on YouTube. If not, you can get it on Amazon.com, or you can get it on Netflix. Delightful movie. Lots of powerful spiritual metaphors in that movie. The movie's been out for more than 12 years, so I'm not giving anything away at this point. There's a wonderful scene, probably up in the third quarter of the movie, where the protagonist has rescued his teacher. He and his teacher are upon the roof of a building. The teacher turns to the protagonist and asks, "Are you beginning to believe?" And instantly the protagonist is crestfallen. He says, "Morpheus, the oracle told me." And instantly the teacher cuts off the protagonist and says, "She told you exactly what you needed to hear." Why am I mentioning this? Glad you asked. If you watched my previous video, the 3-hour video about the long-run healing for Ginger, the Wonder Cat, you'll remember that in the renunciation section I discussed that not everything that's inconvenient is necessarily bad. Sometimes there are many blessings that are inconvenient. And so just because something's inconvenient does not necessarily mean it's bad karma. And so this nice idea, very empowering idea to play with, that when we are dialoguing, we are not necessarily getting the answers we want in the short term, but the answers we require for the midterm and the long term. It's fun, it's very empowering to play with the idea that we're dealing with a Buddha, an entity who's only smart and powerful, but wise. Not only knows what's best for us, but cares what's best for us, based on their omniscience and also based on our intentions that we've formulated and empowered through spiritual practice. So there you have it. Oh, by the way, once you get good, really, really good at dialoguing with one Buddha, you can dialogue with all Buddhas. Once you get good at dialoguing with one spiritual ascended master, you can dialogue with them all. Male, female, Buddhist, non-Buddhist. Just to name a few, I've dialogued with Jigme, Monterey, Vajrayogini, Vajradhara, Tsongkhapa, Lajampa, Sakya Pandita, Padmasambhava. I've dialogued with Manjushri, Amitabha, with Atisha. I've dialogued with non-Buddhists. I've dialogued with Mary, with Isis, with various angels, dialogue with Christ. And are these things that you will not believe blindly? No. According to, what's it called? The Suits of the Kind Laws, the Lama, according to Buddha, the test of anything is causality. Play with it, give it the benefit of the doubt, apply it, and notice the results. And that's the only way. So, what's important is not whether we believe, but what we desire. If we want something to work, we're probably going to keep at it. And if we're humble, we'll keep at it and keep getting input until we find a way to make it work. I'm going to do my best to ignore that phone call and stick with this video. I remember speaking to people from various spiritual traditions and dialoguing with their spiritual guides, their non-corporeal spiritual guides, and just so that I could feel more in harmony with them and their path. Because I didn't want to play the old, my dog's bigger than your dog, and my dad's better than your dad type of thing. That's very petty. So there you have it, in essence. Oh yes, by the way, I also mentioned you can dialogue with the Akashic Library or the Akashic Librarians, whichever terminology you prefer. But the thing is, so there you go. Dialoguing is simple. It's there for everyone, male or female, ordained or non-ordained, of any race and any nationality. It helps if they can speak the same language as me or the person who teaches them. That's just how it works. Once you get good at dialoguing with one entity, you can dialogue with all the empowered ascended entities. It's a lot of fun, and it's so easy, even I was able to do. That's it. If you have any questions, then by all means write a comment in the place below. If you have any questions or comments, feel free. If you'd like to just give me a great big psychic hug, you can either do so below or do so on Facebook using the links below. If you're interested in attending my next series of classes, it's the Wednesday night series of classes, either in person in Los Angeles County or over Skype, and register using the Jigme.com link below. May you and yours be healthy and happy. Bye-bye.